Hello, hello. Welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you're my returning viewers. I missed you guys. I'm Sweet Cooking with Sarah, and I provide you guys easy, simple ingredients, recipes that you guys can follow along, and more tips and information about the kitchen. Hope you enjoy, and like and subscribe and comment your thoughts. If you're a beginner and you want to know certain information that I may not have covered in this live, let me know and I will get back to you guys. But what would I say to beginner cooks? Okay, so I actually am kind of excited about this topic. I've been cooking for 8-ish years now. I've been cooking since a long time ago, and it's always been in my passion. So I'm going to explain to you some tips to help you stay in it, especially if you want to stay in cooking and in the kitchen and so on. So, yeah, what would I say to beginner cooks? Don't forget, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, please comment them and I'll just, yeah, answer them and we shall continue. Okay, buy a good knife. So, I had a conversation with my mom this morning and I asked her, she went to culinary school, by the way, and I think one of the best schools in the country. I don't know. I'm not trying to brag. Well, I can brag. Like, it's kind of cool. But she went to culinary school and she also has a YouTube, so go check out her YouTube. But I asked her, if you're talking to a beginner, what is something that you would say to a beginner, right? When it comes to the kitchen and cooking and all that. She said, number one, buy a good knife. I threw in cutting board in there, but you know, she said, buy a good knife because so many things, so many good things happens to you if you have a good knife. So let me explain. If you have a good, sturdy, sharp knife, you would prevent so many accidents, so many cuts, so many issues, and it would save you from a lot. So when you have a good knife, you're able to cut through food so easily, and it's actually safer to have a sharper knife than to have a dull knife. And it makes it easier for you to not get irritated. When I work with the dull knife, I get so irritated because I feel like I'm just hacking away at the food. I'm just like sawing at whatever I'm making. So when you have a good knife, you don't have those problems. You don't run into those problems. And again, it prevents so many injuries, really. A lot of injuries happen, a lot of cuts, scrapes, whatever happens with a dull knife. And you want a tool to be working with you, working for you, not against you. When you have a dull knife, that's when your tool is working against you. And also cutting board, these are like the main basics. Really, it's more when you're cooking and you're in the kitchen, you're always going to need to use a knife and a cutting board. So get a good cutting board. I suggest wooden cutting boards because one, I feel like there's just a lot better quality. When you use a plastic cutting board, you get microplastics into your food, and that's just not the best, and we don't really want that. Um, and honestly, I feel like I think that wooden cutting boards last a lot longer than plastic cutting boards. So I love using a good sturdy cutting board. If you're looking for these two products or you're just interested in seeing a good knife or a good cutting board, I do have two links in my description that you can go check that out. So let's carry on. Okay. Again, follow my mom, subscribe to her, and we do have a channel where it's me, my sister, and my mom. And it's Carlister Mom and Daughters. That will also be in the description. I don't think I put it in yet, but it should be in there real soon. So you gotta go check us out. It's just more content with us, and it's a mixture of my content, my sister's content, and my mom's content. So it's just more bonuses and stuff. All right, number two, and this was super close, super up there when I asked my mom. It was right there with having a good knife. Learn how to make rice. Learned how to make rice because when you make rice, you basically have half a meal right there. Rice, it's a good source of carbs. They're good carbs, And you can use rice for meal prep. You can just leave it in the fridge and eat on it throughout the day, or you can, rice is good carbs, and it's good to have rice on hand. And that's what my family and I, that's what we do. We have a big bowl of rice that my sister makes, and yeah, we just like eat on it throughout the day. If we have to make our own individual lunches, we would go into the rice. So I love doing that, and I really suggest you learn how to make rice because it's a huge lifesaver, and it really helps when being in the kitchen and cooking. We do have a recipe, so if you don't know how, or you don't have a recipe to make rice, that would be in the description. I had my sister type out how she would make the rice because she's the rice maker in our home. Um, but if you want a recipe, go check that out. It is in the description as well. So, number 3, plan a set time to cook. So thinking if you're thinking I want to cook breakfast, or you know, make sure you have a set time to do it, and make sure you have time to cook. So you're not necessarily in a huge rush, or you're not really stressing so much to, get out of the house, but you still need to eat, but you want to cook, but you don't have the time to cook. So make sure you make time, or you plan a set time to cook. Along with that, practice patience, because cooking does not, when you're cooking real good food, it's going to take time. It needs to cook, it needs to do whatever. And, you just really need the patience to let that cook. You don't want to run a hurry. You don't want to run into accidents. You don't want to burn anything. And really learn to enjoy the process. I feel like a lot of people kind of get out of cooking because they don't enjoy the process. They dread the cooking part of having food. Like, honestly, having the result of having a good dish, having a good breakfast, having cookies, dessert, whatever, is amazing. But if you don't really enjoy the process of getting there, you're not going to really quite stay in cooking. Everybody's a little different, but the reason why I feel like I've stayed in cooking for so long, I've stuck to it for so long, is because I love the process of cooking. It's always been my favorite, and even though I've had a lot of fails in the past, I've always enjoyed cooking no matter what. Doesn't really matter if the result is bad. I just know that the process was good. And it's a learning process, You get there eventually. I run into issues sometimes, you'll run into issues. And next, be mentally prepared to cook. I think this is probably the most important, especially when it comes to your safety. But a lot of times people get injured, they get hurt, they catch things on fire, is because they're not mentally there. And I've done it before. Don't get me wrong, I have done this before. And I may continue to make those mistakes. It's just so important for you to be mentally there, for you to be mentally aware that you're cooking and I need to focus. I need to make sure I'm cooking my eggs right, or I need to make sure that this dish doesn't burn, or I'm not adding too much salt. It's super important for you to be there, When you do all of this, it does make cooking easier and more enjoyable. I am your proof, your witnesses, because this is what's been keeping me to stay in cooking for so long, and I'm pretty sure it will do the same for you. I know it. Okay, have a recipe on hand. So have a recipe physically in front of you on a laptop, phone, or even printed or written out. I do this, and even though I've been cooking for a long time, I still do this. Sometimes I just need to scan at a recipe, you know? But it helps you and your brain understand that, okay, I'm gonna cook. Okay, what am I cooking? I'm gonna be cooking in this. I'm gonna be cooking that. And so when you have the recipe in front of you, it just helps you a lot. It helps you follow along. And most importantly, go over it. Make sure you have all the ingredients. Make sure you have the time to make whatever you're gonna make. I've done this before. It would be like close to my bedtime, so like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. in the past, and I would be making cookies, and I'm like craving cookies, so I'm making it, expecting like to be baking it that day so I can enjoy that night, right? Well, yeah, it turns out I picked the worst recipe, and it turns out the recipe needs to rest. That helps with like the rising process and having good texture of the cookies. And it's supposed to be resting in the refrigerator for 2 hours to overnight. And yeah, a lot of nights I went without cookies because I didn't read all the instructions. Or you would have to be heating something like brown butter, like you're going to be browning the butter and then you have to let it cool and you don't have time for that. So always make sure, back to what I was saying with um, set a time to cook, plan a time to cook. Same idea here. Make sure you go over your recipes and you know that you have the time to make this recipe, or, brainstorm, figure out how you want to go about this recipe. So, okay, number five, before you start cooking, have everything ready. So right back when I was saying, make sure you have all the ingredients. This is when you make sure that, again, you have all the ingredients, but you pull it out. So pull out all the ingredients, the tools. If you're baking a cake, pull out that stand mixer, pull out those eggs, flours, sugar. I was going to say cheese, not cheese. You don't use cheese. Anyway, pull those out and set them out. And if you would like, you can measure those ingredients out. We do that. Beginners do it. Advanced chefs do it. It's meal prep. You're basically not meal prep, but you're prepping to cook. You're prepping for the cooking, and tons of people still do it. It's not really something that only beginners do. Everybody does it. YouTubers do it. I always suggest my younger brother Andrew, because he's starting a cooking channel like me, my sister, and my mom. And I helped him out a couple times, and I was telling him that for you to set out all your ingredients. So look at the recipe that you're using, and set out all those ingredients. You don't necessarily have to measure it. You can measure it. Again, like everybody does it. You can do it. It's very helpful. But pull out all the ingredients and tools you're going to need. It really, in doing so, it makes cooking easier, more convenient, and again, more enjoyable. It just helps everything flow. I feel like it's just, get there, and it helps you, again, be in the moment. I would totally recommend to set everything out. It's just more convenient. It makes things easier, and it puts off more stress. No, it prevents further stress for you. So, yeah, I really suggest doing that. And finally, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Don't be discouraged. It happens to the best of us. I make so many mistakes. And again, I've been cooking for a long time. Yeah, and I still make mistakes. I still burn things. That's okay. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. Really, it's not. Continue on from there. We learned our lesson, right? I'm going to tell you guys a story. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's a good example, right? It's a good learning lesson. So when I was okay, this is a couple years ago. This was like actually a long time. I was making cake pops, and I was making cake pops, and I was making the batter for a chocolate cake. Warning, chocolate cakes in general, when you're baking in general, stuff rises. So that's why it's so important to leave room when you bake. I didn't leave room on the pan. So the cake overflowed, and yeah, that was fun. But the story gets worse because it overflowed, and I didn't know until I can start smelling like it was burning. Like you can smell it. It dripped over. It dripped over the pan, and then it got into the cracks of where the heat comes from. Yeah, let me continue. So I pull out the cake, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So I dump out some of the batter. I'm like, this should be fine. Well, I didn't know it fell into the cracks of the oven where the heat comes from. So I put the cake back in. Hold on. Thank you, Abigail, for visiting. Bye. Love you. Bye. Okay. Yeah, your live stream was amazing too. I loved it. Let me continue. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to tell my story, and my mind is going all over the place. Anyway, yeah, so I poured out some of the batter, and I was like, yeah, this should be fine. Again, I didn't know the batter went into the cracks of the oven where the heat came out of. So I put it back in the oven. It still rose again, so it started overflowing again. And then I caught the oven on fire. It was terrible. It was terrible. But We figured it out. I figured it out. My whole family was outside. Like nobody was in the house, except me. But I pulled out the cake and then I had to I had to clean the oven because it literally caught on fire because of the batter. So I put in usually I recommend if such things happen, you put in baking soda, I believe, and that like kills the fire if you don't have any like fire blankets. But I handled the fire and no damage. It was just a flame. No damage. And then I had to clean out the entire oven. But we got it fixed and I figured it out. So more of the story, like I said, I was not mentally there and I was distracted. I was on a FaceTime with an old friend. So be there, be mentally there, especially if you're new and you're still trying to figure out cooking and recipes and ingredients and stuff. Be mentally there. That's super important. And don't ever be discouraged about making these mistakes. Like that happens, life goes on. Just continue cooking. And you know your lessons now. You know your mistakes now. And it's no big deal. You know? Mistakes are okay. I have mistakes all the time. I learn from them. And now I learn not to catch the oven on fire. Yeah, that was like 2022, I think. 21. Yeah, that was a long time ago, but anyway, that's it. Like and subscribe if you aren't already, and let me know your thoughts. If you liked what I said, if you disagreed with anything that I said, let me know. And, give me your comments, what you think, what's your experience about, getting into cooking. Why do you like cooking? Let me know. Give me your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts. Yes, subscribe. My goal is to hit 3K subs by the end of the summer. So like August something. But yeah, I don't know. We'll get there. We're moving along. So again, thank you. Thank you, Commander Baggins. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you guys. Oh my goodness. Okay, bye. Bye, Commander Baggins. Gives a little wave. Hiya. Yeah. Anyway, Infinity Haven, bye. Okay, yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, I got pink font on my I like pink font. Anyway. Yep, that's about it. Thank you for being here. And I'm thankful for you guys visiting, checking me out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my future videos. Check out my shorts. Do whatever. Comment. I love you guys. See you later. Like and subscribe. Bye.